Okay, gonna do a video on my pool. Pool's been up a couple weeks now for the third season, I believe, on this pool. This is my second pool. First one lasted me about 7 years before the liner. Actually, everything just started going out at once. So anyway, when I want to control the pump from the patio, which I'm standing in right now. So what I'm using this mechanical timer, electrical / mechanical, and you can see the tabs. You put the tabs on manually to set it to however many hours you want. You can see right now I have mine on a 12-hour cycle, which is working out good for this pool. I have a switch up here that I can turn this thing off, and I'm not using it in the off season. But if you want to control your pool off and on this way, get this type of a timer. Don't bother getting one of these little old tiny digital ones that are just going to burn out on you because they just can't handle the current, off and on all the time. So this is what you want, something nice and robust, if this is the way that you want to do it. Okay, my pool. Let's go out here. This is an Intex 18-foot diameter by 52-inch deep metal frame pool, ultra frame pool, excuse me. Made in somewhere right around 2015. If you buy a pool from 2017 and up, they're going to be different than this one. And where you're going to notice the difference is right here on the T. This T is shorter on the newer ones. The liner itself doesn't have as much of a gap as this. The legs, horizontal and the vertical legs, are going to be different because the T is different. They won't interchange with this pool. I like the looks of them better. They just look more sturdier to me than this one. So if I ever got a new one, that's the one I would get. Okay, the pool, let's look at the filter. This is a 16-inch sand filter, Intex. I think it's a good pump. Plenty of water flow, more than I need for this pool, to tell the truth. You can get actually bigger ones than this, not from Intex though. This is Intex's biggest one. You can get like 18-inch, 24-inch, I believe, big old suckers. This is pretty big though. The difference on this one is, if you notice the fittings where they connect, they're screw fittings, and they're proprietary to Intex. So are their hoses. See, their hoses screw on each end, so there's no clamps. The only place there's clamps are on those two 1 1/4-inch hoses coming out of the pool for the inlets. But everything else is screw. So if one of these leaks on you, and I've had a couple of them leak, they just come outside and all of a sudden I'll have a pinhole in one of them. You're going to have to get it from Intex. So if you're going to go all Intex stuff, keep one a spare. If you get one at the pool place, you'll get the hose, but then you're going to have to make the ends work. You're going to have to go to a hardware store and get something to adapt them to these screw-on ends that fit into the pump. If the previous pools had a single inlet, similar to that right there, that's the outlet, but there was just one. To be honest with you, I actually like that one better. Less that can go wrong, less parts to replace. Well, the story goes that there was a death a few years back. Somebody got sucked into one of these inlets inside the pool and drowned. Having a hard time believing that story, but that's the story. So after that, the result was all pool makers switched to a dual inlet. So a dual inlet on the inside of the pool, each inlet's going to be half the suction of a single. but being that they're coming into one and to a T and then back into the inch and a pipe, the water flow going back into the pool, or going into the pump and back into the pool is going to be the same. I have not noticed any difference. So less suction from each one, same water flow. More parts to replace. Excuse me. Some people go hard plumb. You can see a lot of YouTube videos on it where people hard plumb their pools and they show you how and what parts they needed, because there is some adapting to be done. So if I have went that way before, it looks a little tidier. You know, you don't have to worry about hoses breaking on you. The downside of them is they're not as portable. If you need to replace something, instead of the individual pieces, they're all glued together now. So instead of having a bunch of pieces, you have 2 or 3 pieces, big pieces. So if you need to take them apart, take them into the garage, it's a little bit more work. For me, a hard plumb is more like for someone who's just plans on parking their pool and not leaving it there and not moving it again until for the whole duration of the life of the pool. That really doesn't work for me. Like I said, I've hard plumbed and I ended up getting rid of the pieces and just going back stock. But you know, it's whatever works for you. You can see my back hose, my backwash hose. It's just a flat hose, backwash hose that you can buy. And if you look down here, you can see that what it's wrapped around is a standard hose, just like that one right there, that had a hole in it. And this hose is a 2-inch, comes in a roll, and it will fit over the existing hose. And then you can see I have a clamp right there. So I made a regular Intex hose and then this flat backwash hose work for this. So, and then I can roll this up real easy and put it back right here if I want to. So this works out real well for me. Right there between the pool and the house is where I used to have this pump for quite a few years, actually. And the grandkids, when they would go in and out, they would have to step over the hoses and they would trip over the hoses, and I finally said, you know what, I need to move this. I knew it was going to be a little bit of a job, because before, where it was, the hose just went up, the electrical cord just went up and plugged into my outlet. You can see right there. Well, when I moved this to right here, now I got that cord to deal with. So I had to dig a trench, put a PVC pipe down, and threaded this electrical cord through the pipe and then up, and then plugged into the outlet. When I did this, my mistake was, you can see where the cord's coming out of the ground. I should have come up with another pipe and put an outlet right there, an outdoor outlet. That was an oversight on my part, because if I need to remove it, now I'm going to have to dig down to the PVC pipe, pull the cord all the way through there, and then when I want to move the pump and bring it back, I'd have to set it down and then thread it back through the PVC under the ground and back up. So you can see a problem I just created for myself. So if I ever have to do that, I will go ahead and fix it. I will dig down and put the pipe on there and put my outlet on there, and I'll be good to go. So I should have seen that from the beginning. Okay, this electrical cord right there. You can see it's just a regular electrical cord, a plug. It used to be a GFI plug on the end of the cord. That's what comes with the Intex pulls. They're meant to be used if you're going to use this built-in timer. You can also see there's switches over here on the side. Timer switch, an off and on switch. If you're going to use that timer, you just plug it in and forget it. Set it from 2 to 12 hours. you're good. That's not the way I wanted to do it. I wanted to be able to cut power to this whole thing. So that's the way I have it. I just have the switch to on, and then I cut power from the patio back over there on what I showed you. So that GFI plug that was on the end of that would not work for this, because every time you cut power, then and you restore power, you have to go back up to the plug and you have to push the reset button. So after you do that once or twice, you go, well, this is not even worth it. This doesn't work for this application. So I cut it off and I put a regular plug on there. So just kind of a tip, if you plan on going the way I'm going, that's what you're going to have to do. Okay, back to the pool. I made a big time mistake this year. Worst mistake I've ever made. And it came from a decision that you always have to make at the end of your season. You know, you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do? Am I going to take the pool down? Am I going to leave it up? Am I going to take it half down? You leave it up, then you have some issues. One is your chemistry of your water. You're going to have to watch it all year. Your electric bill, you have to run your pump all year. You know, not as much, but you're still going to have to run it because you're leaving it the way it is now. So if that's the way you're going to do it, go for it. The other way is to drain it, you know, halfway down, throw a pool cover over it on the inside, let it float on the water. Disconnect your pump, all your cables, all your hoses, take them into the garage because you don't want to leave these out here. Especially if you have some freezing situations going on when there's water in there. So you're going to have to drain your sand filter, take everything in the garage, beginning of the season, come back out, hook everything back up again. If you take it completely down, well, then you still have all this. Drain the pool completely, disconnect all this stuff, put it away somewhere out of the elements, take all the legs off, store all those metal pieces somewhere, and the biggest one is the liner itself. The more you mess with that liner, you cut drastically into the life of it. Once you start folding it, and you'll notice it the very first time you fold it after the first year, compared to how it felt when you pulled it out of the box and you put it down, it's like the liner starts self-deconstructing the moment you put it down practically, because you feel the difference. It's just not as pliable anymore. The cracks stay in it more, where the folds, trying to fold it into the same size is harder every year because the pool is not as, like I said, flexible as it used to be. Then you have the hassle of the bottom of the pool that you had the pool on, weeds growing back on it the whole off season, so you got to keep that up. You got to, you know, maintain it, and then you have to pull everything out at the start of the season and build everything back up again. Pain in the ass. So it's like, how many times are you going to go through that when you swim for 3 months out of the year and it's down for 9 months, or however long that is in your season. I lazied out this time because I have done both ways. And this time I took the legs off. I left the circular, all the T's on, so the pool still has its shape, but it's only 8 inches high now. And then I just threw a tarp over it. In fact, I left the metal legs down there too. I just tucked them all down there, and then I just threw a tarp over the whole thing. Wow, oh wow, oh wow, what a dumb ass move that ended up being. Because I had the pool basically still there, but not as deep. Every time it rained, I was still having to get all the water out of there. It was pulling in there. And the biggest thing I didn't see is I have cats. And the cats were, I just made a big playground for them. They were always under the tarp. They would make their way to the pool, and they would just start playing like hell with the pool liner. It didn't sink in my head that was going to be a problem. My train, Amtrak. Okay, I didn't think it was going to be an issue because for some reason my bonehead didn't think those cats could scratch through the pool, and I didn't think they would have any interest in it. Well, I was wrong on both counts. They had a big interest in it, and they damn sure hell can scratch through it. So I found that out when I go to set it back up, which was a pain in the ass because when I took the tarp off of it, come to find out the tarp was full of holes, and that was the reason I put the tarp on there in the first place. And so I had all the water that was still in there was still there. You know, I was thinking the tarp was going to pull all the water off. Well, it didn't. And now the water is terrible, gritty, grimy. Took me I don't know how long to get all that water out of there, to clean the pool. Man, I can't tell you how much time I spent before I could even start filling it back up again. So I do all that, put the legs back on and start filling it up. What happens? Well, this is what happened. Within the first foot of the depth of the pool, my pool's been sitting for a while, so it's dirty, so don't pay any mind. But if you look down, you can see the patches. See that? Because I started noticing water on the outside of the pool. So I patch one, and then I go over here, and I patch another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then another one. You can see some of those patches. There's like 4 or 5 holes under the patch. Over here, patches, 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 up the ass, patches. And you can see here, across the pool, see my big dip right there? Worst one I've ever had. The pool liner, or the legs, is supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be right on top of the ground. Ground's supposed to be dry, so on this side of the pool wasn't much of an issue, although you can see there was some drop right there. Now when you get back on the other side, there's my first one. There's my big dip. You can see how much that sunk because it was filling. Same right there. And so you can still see a little bit of dampness right there. And then if you notice, you can see where I'm big time damp right here because you can see all the grass growing right there. So I still haven't got all the leaks yet. And if you look over here, you can see, look at that piece right there is completely buried. That's just from the weight of the pool and the ground softening with the water leaking. Crap, crap, and crap again. What a dumbass. I can't even tell you. Every time I look at this pool, that's what the word comes. It's like I'm looking in the mirror and I see a picture of dumbass because of me and just what I ended up doing this year and how bad the outcome was. So then I go, okay, this was about it for me. This was about, you know, I've had my share of work through this pool, 2 pools now for 10 years. And this one almost made me give up. This one almost said, you know what, I've had about enough of this. I don't know how many more times this pool can kick my ass, and I just keep getting up and say, give me some more. So I came close. Then I started thinking about it, and I says, well, the pump is only a couple years old. The metal members all the way around the pool are still in good shape. There's not much rust on them. So I said, well, if I'm gonna not give up yet, maybe a new liner, it'll be worth it to get a new liner because of all this other stuff I just said. So luckily, Intel still makes liners for this pool. They cost $209, somewhere around there. Shipping and handling about $240, mid 240s. So I said, all right, I'll go ahead and do it. So I went ahead and bought one. In fact, I already have it sitting in my garage. What I planned on doing was, as soon as I got it, draining this thing, taking it apart, getting rid of the liner, putting the new one on. Well, after all this work that I just went through, and all the patches, me and my granddaughter, we're sitting in the pool. This is funny. She's the one that helped me patch most of these. See the 2 weights down there? I needed those weights because after about the first foot, when I'm still adding water, well, now you can't stay down long enough to put the patches on. So I had to put the weights in the pool, and her and I are going down and with our masks on, and we're holding on to the weights so we can stay down there long enough to find the holes and patch them. It was kind of funny. She's the one that actually found more patches than me because her eyes are a lot better than mine. So I said, you know what, since the pool's already up, I'm going to see if I can get this last year out of it. So I'm going to keep my eyes on the leaking and see if it'll work. If I can, then I'll just start next year fresh with the new liner. If I can't, then I might have to do it this year. I mean, if it just, you know, if the holes get more, well, you can see right there, that's the one that gets me right there. See, that's the one you can really tell because of all the weeds right there. See that? See, that's, I have to really monitor this to see if I can make it one more year, and I hope I can, because that's just one more year I'm going to get out of this new liner. So that's kind of my pool story. If you notice, this pool doesn't have a skimmer on it. I don't need one. You know, I found out over the years. I used to have the cheap Intel one. It's basically a bucket that floats in the pool that's hooked into one of these inlets, and it does actually work pretty well. It just bobs a lot because it just clamps to the side, and it's hard to get it to stay there. As long as the water's like this, it's fine, but as soon as the water starts moving, either from swimming or from even the pump running, next thing you know, that bucket will be out in the middle of the pool. So I finally got tired of it. See a lot of videos of people putting in-wall skimmers in their pool, cutting them in. No, there's no way I'm even attempting to do something like that. There just ain't no way in hell. Some people do it though, and they swear they get good results. I'm just not going to do it. One, I don't need it. I'm not going to cut into my pool like that. Another one is I'm not going to lose the water depth, because if you cut these things in, I mean, you can look right here. Let's say right there. Well, you go up as high as you can, maybe to your cut. I mean, you can't go. I mean, you have to try to figure out the integrity of the pool. So about as high as you can go is right here. You're going to cut down to about right here, and then your water is going to be, your water height is going to be about right here. It's going to be about right in the middle of the skimmer. So you're going to lose that much water height. If you don't care about that, then fine, I guess. I do care about it. I want that pool as deep as I can get it, so there's just no way I'm doing it. Plus, like I said, even with, if you look at my property, I don't actually have any trees in my yard, but there's trees all the way around me. If you look over there, and you look over on this side over here, look over there. So you see trees all the way around me, but not that much of this stuff makes its way into this pool. I mean, I've seen some people that really need skimmers because their pool is coated, but mine isn't. I mean, you can see I haven't touched this pool in a week. That's why the bottom looks so dirty, but you can see the top. Looks all right. So just don't need a skimmer. So it's really up to you if you need one or not. The last thing is the Intex flimsy ladders. This is a big one right here. Especially if you're getting up there in age, like me, and especially if you weigh, I'm about $180, but I mean, if you weigh 250, holy crap, I mean, even for me, this thing moves quite a bit going up and down. And it's like you go up to the top and you're kind of going, whoa, 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 I mean, little kids, it's fine for. But when you start getting bigger, you don't feel all that comfortable every time you have to go up and down that ladder. And you can see how tall it is. So a lot of people build decks. I just never even thought about something like that, but some people do it. You'll see a lot of videos of it, and where it's nice and sturdy, where they can actually go up and sit on the deck and go in and out of the pool that way. Have a little inside ladder in the pool that's filled with sand that's hooked to the deck. So there's all kinds of ways you can do it. You can spend some money and get you a really high quality ladder. You know, $250, $300 for one. It's like I said, bigger than this and just wider. Some of them filled with sand, so they're more stable when you go up and down. So that's a big thing, especially, you know, it's not a big a deal when it's a 36-inch pool, but when it's a 52-inch like this, that becomes quite a big deal. Also, too, you notice I have it sitting outside the pool. That's a little tip for me. If you're using one of these, when you're not in the pool, take it out of the pool. Even though it's a little bit of a hassle to have to be lifting it over the pool and back in each time, take it from me, that ladder's going to last you twice as long. I had one go out on me already by leaving it in there 24/7, because it's just, the rust is just constantly eating it from the inside out, and pretty soon it'll just break on you. And that's what I had one on me. I was walking up the ladder and it just snapped on me. And it was the part that was in the water all the time. So one is keep them out of the water, and then another one is to try to visually see which side you're putting in the water every time. So if you can go, you know, you can rotate it and put one in the water each time. Believe me, you'll get 2 or 3 times the life out of one of these ladders before you have to replace it. So I think that's pretty much it. If you're gonna get a pool, just be willing to do the work. Don't think it's going to be a sit it and forget it deal. If you're not willing to do the work, and believe me, you talk to anybody who's had a pool 10 years plus, and they'll tell you how much work's involved, unless you're paying somebody. So keep that in mind. If you're willing to do the work, have fun. Swim as much as you want. But if you're not, when the wife says, "Look, honey, at this pool," and you see it at Walmart, just walk on by and say, "Let's go look at something else." Because believe me, it will kick your ass. Okay, see you later.